Steam rose in the ballroom, curling through the air like a ghostly warning. The chandeliers flickered, their light refracted by the haze, casting strange shadows across the marble floor. Waiters froze mid-step as faucets coughed and died, their trays trembling in their hands. The sudden silence was deafening, broken only by the distant hum of confusion. Glasses clinked, but no one smiled. The usual laughter was replaced by uneasy glances, as if everyone sensed something was terribly wrong. Brenton Vance, king of the city's money, glared at a bone-dry bar. His empire, built on opulence, suddenly felt fragile. Ice melted in useless silence, droplets tracing slow paths down crystal glasses, untouched and unwanted. The mayor's face went white, his confidence draining away with every passing second. Someone tried the bathroom and came running back, panic etched on their face. People started yelling, some blamed the staff, voices rising in accusation and fear. Others checked their phones for answers, scrolling through news feeds and group chats, desperate for an explanation. Sirens cut through the noise outside, their blue and red lights painting the walls with urgency. The city's heart was dry. Fountains stood empty, and glasses remained unfilled. Someone shouted in the kitchen. No water in the sinks, no water in the pots. Dishes stacked, unwashed, as panic spread behind the scenes. The chef threw down his towel, defeated, his reputation slipping away with every minute. Brenton's club was the city's pride, a symbol of power and excess. He had spent millions for this gala, sparing no expense to impress the city's elite. Now, he stared at the chaos, his jaw set hard, watching his perfect night unravel. His eyes flicked to the mayor, who muttered into a phone, searching for answers that wouldn't come. The party was over before it began. The music faded, and hope drained from the room. No one knew it yet, but this was just the start. The real disaster was only beginning to unfold. In the shadows, old debts and older promises creaked to life. Water, the city's blood was gone, and with it, the illusion of control. And somewhere under flickering streetlights, an old man watched from his diner window, knowing that the city would never be the same again. Joe's Diner stood at the corner of Main and Fifth. Neon lights hummed, blinking against the night. The booths were cracked but clean. The walls held black and white photos. Joe, at 72, moved slow but steady. He wiped each counter like it was sacred. Outside, rain slid down the windows. Inside, the smell of coffee and bacon filled the air. Joe's hands, rough and scarred, traced the edges of the formica. He knew every squeak in the floor. The city might change, but the diner stayed the same. Joe had built this place with his father. He remembered the first pot of coffee they served in 1950, the laughter, the long nights. He remembered every regular who came and went. The city grew taller, faster, richer. But the diner stood still, quiet, stubborn, real. Tonight, something felt off. Joe watched the darkness, feeling the weight of old secrets. He knew trouble when he saw it. Trouble was coming. Brenton Vance never liked no for an answer. He loved glass, steel, and neon. He was building a new tower, right where Joe's diner stood. To him, the diner was a blemish, old, dirty, in the way. He wanted it gone, fast. He called in city favors, greased hands in dark corners. The city official, a sharp-suited snake, made promises. "We'll make it happen, Brenton. The old man won't know what hit him." They laughed over drinks, thinking it was easy. They didn't see Joe. They saw a problem to erase. Vance sent letters. He sent lawyers. He even sent a man to offer Joe a check. Enough to buy 5 diners. Joe just shook his head. "Not for sale," he said. The city official shrugged. "We'll see about that." Plans were drawn. The date was set. They would evict Joe, publicly. For Vance, it was just business. For Joe, it was everything. The eviction notice came on a bright morning. Papers taped to the glass, red letters screaming. Joe read it twice, slow and careful. Out in the street, reporters waited. Cameras clicked. The city official grinned, sharp as a knife. Vance stood behind him, hands in pockets. Joe's regulars gathered outside. They watched as the official read the notice out loud. "Failure to vacate will result in removal." Vance leaned in and whispered, "You should have taken the money, old man." The reporters caught every word. Joe's cheeks burned, but he stood straight. The city official made a show of locking the doors. He tossed Joe's keys on the sidewalk. "This city moves forward," he said. "Some things get left behind." The crowd buzzed. Joe bent to pick up the keys, his hands steady. He didn't say a word. He just looked at the building, and he remembered. Justice, he thought, moves slower than money. But it moves. Joe sat in the empty kitchen, the silence pressing in around him like a heavy blanket. The only sound was the faint hum of the city beyond the walls, muffled and distant. The world outside raged, rain lashing the windows and thunder rolling overhead. But here, inside these walls, it was still, a quiet sanctuary untouched by the storm. He ran his hand over the old stove, feeling the grooves and warmth that had built up over decades of use, each mark a testament to years of hard work and family meals. It was the same one his father bought, back when bread was 10 cents and hope was harder to find, when every penny mattered and dreams seemed just out of reach. He remembered long nights, his father's booming laugh echoing through the kitchen, the weight of the city above their heads, and the comfort of being together in the glow of the stove. The kitchen was his sanctuary, a place where memories lingered in every corner and the past felt close enough to touch. Every dent in the steel, every stain on the tile, told a story of spilled coffee, late-night arguments, and laughter that refused to fade. He remembered carrying in sacks of flour as a boy, the weight almost too much but the pride of helping his family even heavier. He remembered his mother singing softly while she scrubbed pots, her voice weaving through the steam and clatter, making the kitchen feel alive. He remembered the day his father showed him the valve in the basement, the secret under the floor that only their family knew about, a hidden legacy passed down in whispers. Joe's father had said, "This diner is more than a business. It's our home, our history, and our future all wrapped into one. And there's power buried here," he'd whispered, a secret strength running beneath their feet. Back then, Joe hadn't understood what his father meant, the words mysterious and heavy with meaning. Now, he traced the memory like a roadmap, searching for answers in the past, hoping to find a way forward. Pipes ran under the floor, old and sturdy, carrying more than just water. They carried the weight of generations. And somewhere, an old city law kept them safe, a forgotten rule that protected their little world from the chaos outside. Joe stood up, wiped his hands on his apron, and looked at the locked door, determination settling in his chest. He still had one card to play, and tonight, he was ready to use it. Back in 1912, the city was young. The streets were quiet at dawn, shrouded in mist, and the future felt wide open, full of promise and uncertainty. Joe's grandfather was there, one of the men who helped lay the very first water pipes beneath those cobblestone streets, working long hours with nothing but shovels, sweat, and hope for what the city might become. When the diner was built, the city signed a charter, an agreement that would shape the neighborhood for generations. One clause was simple, but powerful. The main water valve for all of downtown sat right under the diner's floorboards, hidden from sight, but vital to the city's lifeblood. The clause stated the diner could not be moved or demolished unless the city rerouted the water at their own expense, no exceptions. The law was old, written in another era, but its meaning was clear as day. If the diner ever shut its doors, the water to City Hall, the club, and half the downtown would stop too. No water meant no city. Everything would grind to a halt. Over the years, people forgot about the old agreements. The files gathered dust, buried in city archives, and the story faded from memory. Pipes got buried deeper. Papers got dusty and yellowed. But Joe remembered. He never let the story slip away. He kept the deed, the map, and the crucial charter clause safe, tucked away in a battered tin box. He hid them under the register, ready for the day someone might challenge the diner's place. Lawyers came and tried to argue. They said the law was outdated, a relic from another time, and tried to dismiss it. But the words were there, in black and white, as clear as the day they were written. The premises at Main and Fifth shall maintain continuous access to the main water valve, it read. No removal shall occur without an alternative supply in operation, the clause insisted, binding the city's hands. Joe's lawyer, a quiet woman with sharp eyes and a knowing smile, understood the power of those words. Joe didn't like to fight. He preferred peace, quiet, and coffee poured at sunrise. But sometimes you had to stand your ground, even when it felt like the whole city was against you. Even when the odds were stacked high and the rain fell hard, you stood tall, because some things were worth protecting. The city called Joe to a deposition. Fluorescent lights buzzed. A long table, shiny and cold, separated Joe from the men who wanted his diner. Vance sat with his lawyers, arms folded. The city's official spoke first. "Mr. Russo, do you understand why you're here?" Joe nodded, slow and calm. "I do." He pulled out the tin box. Paper slid across the table. The old charter, the map, the deed. His lawyer spoke, voice steady. "The law says Joe keeps his diner, unless you move the valve. You haven't." Vance leaned forward. "That's just old paper. The city will fix it." The lawyer shook her head. "Not tonight. Not tomorrow. This takes months. Maybe years. Until then, the valve stays. So does Joe." The room went quiet. The city official checked his phone, sweat on his brow. Joe looked at Vance. For the first time, Vance looked scared. Night fell. Joe slipped into his diner. He knew every inch of it, even in the dark. Down in the basement, the old valve waited. Joe bent down, his knees creaking. He gripped the wheel and turned. Pipes groaned, water slowed. Then, silence. Downtown went dry. At Vance's club, guests screamed. No water for champagne, no water for toilets. City Hall phones rang off the hook. Sirens wailed. Fire engines roared by, looking for leaks. The city's heart was parched. Joe stood in the shadows, listening. The mayor called for help. Vance cursed. News crews gathered outside the diner, cameras rolling. Joe appeared in the doorway, face calm. "Want your water back?" he asked, Let's talk. The city listened. For once, Joe had the power. Sometimes all it takes is one turn, one old law, one stubborn man. The city fixed the mistake. Joe kept his diner. Vance backed down, his fortune powerless against steel, water, and law. The official lost his job. The mayor shook Joe's hand on live TV. The story ran in every paper. Old diner saves city from itself. Joe went back to his kitchen. He brewed coffee, flipped eggs, and smiled at his regulars. The city moved on, a little wiser. The law had spoken. Joe had won. Not with money, but with knowledge and guts. Justice, Joe learned, is not just for the rich. It waits, silent and stubborn, like water in the pipes. Sometimes it needs a nudge, a reminder that every city is built on the backs of ordinary people who refuse to be pushed aside. So know your rights. Stand your ground. The world may forget, but the law remembers.